Have you ever seen an animal mourn, truly mourn, as if its heart was broken beyond repair? This is the story of a dog whose cries at a graveyard revealed a truth no one was prepared for. So stay with me until the very end, and do not forget to like this video, subscribe for more emotional stories, and tell us in the comments where in the world you are watching from. It began on a gray morning, when a cemetery caretaker noticed something unusual. Every day at dawn, a German shepherd appeared at the same grave. He would sit silently at first, then lower his head and begin to cry. His cries echoed through the still air, raw and filled with pain. The caretaker thought perhaps the dog belonged to the person buried there. But when he asked around, no one knew who the dog was or where he came from. The grave belonged to a young woman named Sarah, who had passed away in a tragic accident. Her family visited often, and each time they found the dog already there, waiting, watching, crying as if he carried a grief of his own. At first, they thought he was just a stray, but then one day, Sarah's mother knelt down beside him, and the dog pressed his head against her lap, his body trembling as though he recognized her scent. The family was stunned. They remembered that Sarah used to feed stray dogs outside her workplace. One in particular, a German shepherd, always followed her to the bus stop, wagging his tail, protecting her until the bus arrived. She called him Shadow because no matter where she went, he was always behind her. They realized this was him. He had lost the only person who ever showed him kindness, and now he came every day to the only place he could still feel close to her. Word spread through the town about the mysterious crying dog. Crowds gathered at the cemetery, watching in silence as Shadow lay by the grave, his eyes wet, his body refusing to move even in the pouring rain. Some people tried to take him away, offering food, a home, but he always returned night after night, always back at Sarah's grave. One evening, as the sun set, Sarah's brother decided to follow him after he left the cemetery. Shadow walked for miles, through dark alleys and quiet streets, until he reached an abandoned house. Inside, the brother found something shocking. Puppies small, fragile, barely a few weeks old. Shadow had been caring for them all along, sneaking food where he could, protecting them with his life. He cried at the grave, not only for Sarah, but because he was carrying on her kindness, protecting life the way she once protected his. The family was speechless. Sarah's love for animals had not ended with her death. It lived on through this loyal dog and his puppies. They took Shadow and the pups into their home, giving them warmth, safety, and love. For the first time since Sarah's passing, the family felt her presence again, not in words, not in pictures, but in the devotion of the dog she had once saved. Months later, Shadow no longer cried at the grave in despair. Instead, he sat there quietly with his puppies beside him. His eyes were still filled with sorrow, but also with peace. He had found a new family, a new purpose, and a way to keep Sarah's memory alive. And that, my friends, is the story of Shadow, the dog who cried at the grave, whose truth left everyone speechless. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who believes in the loyalty of animals. Subscribe for more emotional, true stories, and tell us in the comments, do you believe dogs carry souls big enough to mourn just like us? Because sometimes the tears of an animal can speak louder than words. And in those tears, we see the deepest truth of all. Love never really dies.